Welcome to SibSpot. Today's Reddit stories are filed under I Don't Work Here Lady. Karens and male Karens love to go find a manager just to see someone get in trouble, even if they say clearly, I don't work here. Today's stories focus on that fact. Story 1 is by Traditional Gur 4130. This one is a collection of a few stories from this original poster. What are you going to do? Fire me? I was shopping at Target. Mind you, I was wearing a blue shirt and sweatpants. Nothing close to the red and khaki that we all know. It was slow with very few people. A total Karen comes around the corner with a very rude and loud, "Excuse me." I ignore her since there's no reason why I would need to acknowledge her. She comes closer to me while shoving my cart down the aisle and says, "I need you to grab that box for me now." I just laugh at her and say no. I'm short, 4'11", but would try to help a stranger reach the highest shelves item if they asked kindly. But this lady was just too rude to engage. Anyways, she says, "You're just standing there going back and forth in the aisles pretending like you're busy." I told her, and at this point I'm thoroughly amused by her absurd and rude demeanor. Duh, I gotta do all my shopping while I'm here. I'm not going to go home without the stuff I need. And of course she proceeds to say, "Listen, young lady, you're not gonna get away with speaking to me like that." The young lady was the most amusing thing because it was absolutely an on-brand condescending thing to say. So I told her, "If you can find my manager, you should tell them that. I bet she won't have a problem with me shopping right now." So she storms off like I had hoped at this point. I decide that it was time to find out if she found my manager. She found a manager, and I walk near them. She points at me and tells the person, "That's her. She was disrespectful and refused to help me so she can shop." I had to give it all I had not to burst out laughing. The manager said, "Ma'am, she's a customer here as well. She does not work here." So instead of admitting to being a jerk, she asked, "Well, then why did you tell me to get your manager?" I simply and calmly said, "The offer still stands. Go out and find my manager and tell them everything. Megan," the manager's name tag here, "isn't my manager." I was proud of myself for this one. I get passive-aggressive and sometimes rude when people are like this, and I end up regretting it later and wishing that I had more tact. My calmness in the situation bothered her the most, I believe. It got me thinking of a few days afterwards as well. I live in a touristy destination, and while most people are delightful, there is a small population of out-of-touch people who think that everyone is there to serve them. But I suppose that is the case everywhere. But these people were particularly on my mind at this moment. I was shopping at the local grocery outlet for some batteries, quick trip. I'm browsing batteries and looking at my options as this one lady passed 3 employees to bark an order at me over not being able to find a ladle. Now, grocery outlet is one of those stores that may or may not have odds and ends like ladles. And that's just the nature of it, but I digress. I think the barking triggered me, so I said, probably a little too rudely, "What makes you think I work here?" She tried to pretend like she didn't just bark something at me and started to walk away. So I said, "No, I want to know what about me made you think that shopping is the last possible reason I could be here right now." She walks away sheepishly. I get a phone call from my partner a few minutes later while I was waiting in checkout and tell him what just happened. And she and her family are in the line behind me. While talking on the phone, I had said, "These people have the audacity to bark at people, and they literally think that any warm body is there to serve them. We need to promote employees to be rude back because it's not like these people would be nice anyway, since they just jump into barking orders without a please or a thank you or hello." And then I said to my phone goodbye and hung up to move to the cashier. I look at the family and tell the mom, "If you still can't find a ladle, they're right over there," points to the aisle. It is one of literally 2 grocery stores in the county, So I've spent many days shopping the whole store and familiarized with its setup. She just shrugs it off, and her husband sheepishly laughed it off as well and said, "Oh, it's okay. It's not that important. No worries." I said, "Really?" It almost seemed like life or death with the way y'all asked. Again, maybe I was the one out of line, but there is no reason why anyone should approach anybody, especially employees, like that. A third time, I was shopping at Ultra and noticed a lady following me down each aisle. She finally approached me and said, "Excuse me, but I need help finding..." insert item name here. I told her, "I don't work here, but I'm happy to help find it together." And she said, "Sure, maybe until I run into someone that works here?" And we proceeded to browse a couple aisles and had a lovely brief discussion about our favorite skincare items. So it's not about being asked to help or thinking that I work there, but how it's being asked. Some people think they can talk down to anybody, and they use someone's employment as leverage to get away with speaking to people like that. I support, as someone in the service industry as well, a movement to not necessarily be rude to customers, but to mirror their behavior. Take away their power. I'm not even bothered if someone is short with me, or even not cordial, but don't be straight up rude. I love this one, especially the first one. I like to imagine that she feels real embarrassment when she finally finds the manager and is told the girl doesn't work there. But these people aren't normal, so maybe they don't feel any embarrassment at all? I don't know. I've never actually bumped into somebody quite like this. The second story is by GyreSurfer. Wrong color. I used to work at a hardware store known for red shirts. One day I went across the street to get some lunch at a grocery store known for blue shirts. While I was waiting to pay for my food, a woman came up to me. Woman, "Excuse me, where are..." some food item I don't recall. Me, "I don't know." Woman, "Well, aren't you going to find out?" Me, "No, I don't work here." As I said before, my uniform was red, and everyone who worked there was in blue. Honestly, I was so confused by her mistake, I couldn't really think of anything clever to say. Woman, "Of course you do. Now go find me food item." Me, "Leave me alone. I really don't work here." Woman, "I'm going to report you to your manager." This is a Karen, by the way. Me, "By all means. His name is Ken. You can find him across the street, and he'll probably find this way funnier than I do." I think that's when things finally clicked for her, because she just stopped arguing and went away. I will absolutely never understand the kind of people that say, "Yes, you do," or in this one, "Of course you do," when they're told, "I don't work here." Do they honestly think these employees could keep a job if they told people they don't work at a store, just to have to avoid helping them? Does this actually happen often? I've never worked in retail, so it's hard to envision this being a thing. The last story today is by I'm So Sorry, Charlie. I don't care that a man died. My kid's tummy hurts. This happened a few years ago, so things are a little fuzzy around the edges. I'm a veterinary technician, and I got injured on the job. A puppy was handed to me, and he started flailing and managed to take a 1 centimeter by 3 millimeter chunk out of my cornea with his claw. That sounds painful. It's among the most painful injuries I've ever received. I can't see to save my life, so I called my dad and asked him to take me to the ER. He picks me up directly from work. The ER is a madhouse. You know it's going to be bad when there's a handful of staff waiting on an ambulance to arrive. While I'm waiting in the exam room, I hear a page come over the system for a code blue. That means the patient has gone into cardiac arrest, and it's an all-hands-on-deck situation for CPR. It's also a reminder that you're lucky to be waiting in an ER because you're not dying. I'm eventually seen by the doctor, and I get a few sidelong glances from the nurses at my scrubs. They seem to notice a large paw print logo embroidered on them from the hospital I used to work at and leave me be. After my visit, the nurse who's discharging me points down the hall to the door and tells me to exit that way, and then she gets back to work. As I'm walking down the hall, a woman pops out of one of the exam rooms on my blind side and immediately starts yelling. I almost crash into a desk. Our characters will be concerned mother, CM, mortified daughter, MD, and yours truly, the main entertainment, me. CM, do you know how long I've been waiting? Me gestures in vain towards the paw print logo. I don't work here. CM, do you think I'm an idiot? Me, I can get someone to... CM, we've been waiting for 45 minutes in this room. My daughter's tummy hurts. Do you even care about her? MD seems to be about 13 years old, covering her face with her hands, looking a bit like she wishes the floor would swallow her up. Me, I can't help. CM slowly, like I'm an idiot. Her tummy hurts. Do you people even care at all about how long we've waited? Me, in disbelief over how someone could be so clueless about triage. Did you not see the man come in that got hit by a car? Just a guess, but hoping to give her some perspective. CM, is he my daughter? No. Then why would I care? What's wrong with your face? Quit winking at me. Me, just struggling to see over here, my bad. At this point, a security guard shows up. He stands between us and looks at her, then at me. Me, desperately pointing at the paw print logo. I'm a patient. He nods and turns to CM and starts explaining that I don't work there. I didn't hang around to see the aftermath because, you know, the whole couldn't see part. Some say her daughter's tummy hurts to this very day. See, this one is just like the other one. She said, of course, do you think I'm an idiot? That rephrased is, of course you do. You work here. Also, a 45-minute wait for a tummy ache is nothing. A hospital trip for me generally takes hours. I sit in the waiting room for hours. I still remember when I was very young, maybe 8 years old, I got hit in the top of the head with a rock. My brothers and my neighbor were throwing large rocks at a huge rock, and I had blood all over my hair and a hole in my head. That was my first ever hospital experience, and I was sitting in the waiting room for at least 2 hours. And my issue was far worse than what this entitled parent had to endure. Thankfully, I only needed a couple stitches and a cleanup and suffered no brain damage. I think. Today's stories have come to a close. If you enjoyed these stories being read to you, please click like or subscribe. It doesn't actually cost anything at all. Or leave a comment. YouTube's algorithm uses these to help other people find their way to the channel and helps it grow. Thank you for listening. Until we meet again, have a magnificent day.